The clock above the counter ticks past 9, and the diner finally exhales after the chaos of the morning rush. Plates have stopped clattering, conversations have thinned into low murmurs, and the smell of fresh coffee lingers heavy in the air. Emily wipes down the counter with practiced movements, her apron already smudged with stains from a dozen hurried orders. She doesn't complain. This is routine, the rhythm of her mornings. Then the bell over the door jingles. Slowly, almost uncertainly, an old man steps inside. He isn't like the usual crowd that fills these booths. His jacket is frayed at the sleeves, the fabric faded from years of wear. His shoes scuff against the tile with a tired shuffle, as though each step costs him more than he can spare. His eyes sweep the room, not searching for anyone, but almost hoping no one notices him. Emily does. She straightens, offering the same smile she gives every customer, though something in her chest tightens. The man looks fragile, but there is a heaviness in the way he carries himself, a weight invisible but unmistakable. He chooses a small booth near the window, lowering himself carefully, as if the act of sitting might betray him. She approaches with her notepad, but he doesn't look at the menu. His voice is thin, almost cracked with dryness when he speaks. Just a coffee, nothing else. Emily nods, writing down the single word, though she doesn't need to. The order is simple, yet the pause in his voice says more than any list of dishes could. She glances at his hands, noticing how they tremble as they fold around the edge of the menu. Fingernails rough, knuckles swollen, skin pale and spotted with time. These aren't the hands of someone living an easy life. Behind her, a coworker calls out, joking about tips being lousy today. Emily forces a small laugh, but her focus lingers on the man by the window. She prepares the coffee herself, pouring it slowly into the chipped white mug, making sure it's fresh, not the leftover pot that's been sitting on the warmer. She sets it gently on the tray, along with a tiny saucer of cream and a packet of sugar, then carries it over. The man looks up as the cup touches the table. His eyes, a cloudy gray, hold a flicker of gratitude, though his lips stay pressed together. He reaches for his wallet, moving with hesitation. The leather is old, cracked along the edges, the kind of wallet that has seen decades pass. He fumbles as if searching for something that isn't there, or maybe for something he wishes he still had. Emily notices the way his fingers hesitate, the faint crease of worry forming between his brows. It's not just age. It's the quiet panic of someone calculating every cent, deciding whether dignity or hunger costs more. And still, he keeps his gaze low, hoping she won't see. Emily's eyes linger on the old man as he fumbles inside his wallet. The diner's neon lights hum faintly above them, casting a pale glow on the worn, leather clutched between his shaking hands. The bills inside look thin, maybe a crumpled 5, a couple of ones, and for a second his fingers hover as though pulling one free might strip him of something more than money. She senses it before he even speaks. The way his shoulders stiffen, the slight flush that creeps along his wrinkled cheeks, the almost imperceptible sigh when he realizes the cost of a simple cup of coffee feels heavier than it should. Emily doesn't pause. She leans in with an ease that hides the decision she's just made. "Don't worry about it," she says gently, sliding the steaming cup closer. "This one's on me." The old man freezes. His eyes lift slowly, searching her face as if to catch a trace of pity or judgment, but there's none. Only warmth, only sincerity. She's already turning slightly, pretending it's nothing, like she's done this 100 times before, but it isn't nothing, not to him. Her coworker, Lisa, notices from behind the counter. "You're giving away coffee now," she whispers under her breath with a smirk, but Emily doesn't answer. She keeps her back straight, her tone steady. A few dollars from her paycheck means she skips a snack on her break, maybe cuts her grocery list shorter that week. But to this man, it spares him the embarrassment that was about to carve deeper into his pride. The old man lowers his gaze again, his hands retreating slowly from the wallet. He doesn't protest, doesn't argue, but there's a tension in the way he lifts the cup, holding it carefully, almost reverently. For him, this isn't just coffee. It's the unexpected mercy of being seen, of being treated with dignity instead of disdain. Emily busies herself wiping down the nearby table, but her eyes flick back toward him every so often. She notices how he warms his hands around the mug before taking a sip, how he closes his eyes briefly as though the heat alone is comfort enough. It isn't charity, not in her mind. It's humanity. The kind she hopes someone would show her father, her brother, anyone she loves, if they were ever caught in the same position. The bell above the door jingles again, a new customer stepping in, shaking off the morning chill. Emily greets them with the same brightness, moving seamlessly from one table to another, her energy spilling into the room. Yet beneath the routine, a quiet awareness lingers. She knows the old man is still sitting there, nursing the gift she insisted on giving. And though he doesn't say a word, though his lips remain sealed and his eyes stay low, something unspoken passes between them every time she glances over. Something that feels heavier than a simple cup of coffee. The old man sits quietly, the rim of the coffee cup pressed against his lips, but his eyes are somewhere else entirely. To anyone watching, he looks like another weary soul passing time in a forgotten corner of the diner. His coat is shabby, his shoes worn, his frame slightly hunched. But beneath the surface, beneath the mask of frailty, lies a story no one in this room could guess. Because this is not a man broken by poverty. This is Mr. Anderson, one of the wealthiest men in the state, owner of sprawling estates, vast corporations, and more zeros in his bank account than most could even comprehend. Yet he sits here, deliberately disguised in the skin of simplicity, testing the very world he once believed he understood. He stirs the coffee absent-mindedly, watching the cream swirl into pale circles, while his mind drifts to boardrooms filled with cold faces, to lawyers fighting over numbers on paper, to family members whose conversations revolve only around inheritance. Decades of success built him an empire, but they also stripped him of something money could never replace: sincerity. When his wife was alive, she was his compass, the one person who treated him as a man, not as a figure on a balance sheet. But after she passed, the emptiness grew. The children bickered over trust funds, business partners whispered behind closed doors, and everywhere he turned he saw greed wearing the mask of love. He began to wonder, had kindness become extinct, or had he simply forgotten where to look for it? That's why he started coming to places like this diner, not with bodyguards, not with luxury cars, but as an ordinary old man. He slips into these unremarkable spaces, searching for something real, something untouched by money's influence. Most days, he finds nothing but impatience, blank stares, or forced smiles that crack the moment he reveals he cannot pay. But today, Emily changes everything. She doesn't know his name. She doesn't know his fortune. She doesn't even know that the watch hidden beneath his sleeve, though scratched, could pay her rent for a year. To her, he is just a customer, an old man in need of a hot drink, and that makes her gesture different from all the hollow kindness he's been shown before. His heart beats a little faster as he studies her from behind the rim of his cup, the way she moves quickly from table to table without complaint, the way she laughs lightly at a coworker's joke, the way she checks on him as though he isn't invisible. She doesn't realize she has already passed the quiet test he sets for everyone he encounters. She doesn't know that he has been waiting for this, for someone to show him that compassion still exists in its purest form. She doesn't know the man she just bought coffee for could rewrite her entire future with a single decision. Mr. Anderson leans back in the booth, fingers curled loosely around the warm mug, his eyes following Emily as she moves through the diner. He's not watching with the idle gaze of an old man killing time. He's watching with intent, measuring every gesture, every glance, every word that leaves her mouth. Years of business taught him how to read people, how to separate performance from truth, and now those instincts sharpen on her with quiet precision. Emily doesn't know she's under scrutiny. She's too busy. A family at the far booth waves her over, asking for extra napkins. A teenager complains about cold fries. The bell at the counter rings with another order ready for pickup. She handles each request with the same steady rhythm, never snapping, never sighing, never letting her smile falter. Not the exaggerated grin of someone fishing for tips, but the natural kind, quick and soft, that lingers just enough to feel genuine. Mr. Anderson takes another sip of coffee, noting how she doesn't rush past his booth, even though he's ordered nothing more than a single cup. She checks in, a hand on the edge of the table, eyes meeting his with a small nod as though to say, "You're not forgotten." To him, that's louder than any words. He thinks of the many times he's run similar tests. In upscale restaurants, in busy cafes, even in hotels where staff trained in etiquette stumbled the moment they realized he wasn't tipping big. Politeness evaporated into cold indifference. But here, in this modest roadside diner, a young waitress makes him feel human again without knowing who he is. Emily laughs suddenly at something a coworker says, the sound light, uncalculated. She wipes down a table with quick circles, then bends to pick up a spoon a toddler dropped without making a fuss. Mr. Anderson watches the way she interacts with the customers. An elderly couple, a delivery driver, a mother juggling kids. No difference in her tone, no favoritism. Her kindness is consistent, not selective. That consistency tells him more than money ever could. His gaze drifts to the notepad sticking out of her apron pocket, corners bent, filled with hurried scribbles. The pen clipped beside it is nearly out of ink. Details most wouldn't notice, but to him they paint a picture. Someone working hard, stretching every tool until it can't stretch anymore. She doesn't complain, doesn't show the weariness he certain lingers beneath her surface. Instead, she hides it with small jokes, with attentiveness, with that same unshakable warmth. Anderson shifts slightly in his seat, the leather of his wallet pressing against his side, heavy not with bills, but with decisions. He didn't come here to find someone perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. He came to see if anyone still lived with unpolished compassion, the kind untouched by greed or self-interest. And the more he observes, the more certain he becomes. Still, he waits. He wants to see just a little more, to be sure the spark he notices isn't a flicker that fades once the shift drags longer. His test isn't about a single gesture. It's about consistency, patience, the quiet way someone reveals who they truly are when they think no one important is watching. And right now, he is watching everything. The morning after, the diner feels the same to Emily. The hiss of the coffee machine, the scrape of chairs against the tiled floor, the familiar rhythm of orders shouted over the counter. She ties her apron with the same knot, brushes a loose strand of hair from her face, and prepares for another day that looks no different from the one before. To her, yesterday's small act of kindness is already forgotten. But outside, something waits. A sleek black car idles at the curb, windows tinted, its polished surface catching the early light. It doesn't belong here among the rusted pickups and dented sedans lined along the street. Customers glance at it as they pass, curious, but no one lingers long. When Emily steps out back to take the morning trash, a man in a crisp suit approaches. His shoes shine, his movements precise, his presence out of place in the alley cluttered with dumpsters. He holds out a sealed envelope, her name written neatly across the front. "For you," he says, his tone calm, rehearsed. Emily hesitates, wiping her hands on her apron before taking it. She frowns, confused. "Are you sure?" The man nods once, then steps aside, waiting with silent patience as she tears the flap. Inside is thick paper, heavy in her hands, carrying words that make her eyes blur as she reads. "Thank you for the coffee. You reminded me that true wealth is in kindness. Please accept this gift." Her brow furrows. Beneath the note, folded documents slide into her fingers. Property deeds with her name printed bold at the top. A key taped carefully to the corner, gleaming under the dim alley light. She flips through the pages with trembling hands, her mind fighting to process the impossible details. A house already purchased. A scholarship fund, established in her younger brother's honor. Numbers and signatures that make her head spin. Her breath catches, chest tightening, as if the air around her has thinned. She stumbles back a step, gripping the papers as though they might vanish if she loosens her hold. Around her, the noise of the diner fades, the clatter of dishes muffled, the chatter of customers distant. All she can hear is the rush of her own heartbeat hammering in her ears. She looks up at the suited man, searching for some kind of explanation, but he only gestures subtly toward the car at the curb. Her gaze follows, and for a moment, the tinted window lowers just enough. Inside, she sees him, the old man from yesterday. He sits with his hands folded neatly on his lap, no longer hunched, no longer appearing lost, the same face, but framed now with quiet authority, eyes sharp and steady as they meet hers through the glass. There is no confusion in them, no hesitation, only a knowing calm, as though everything unfolding now has been planned long before she even noticed him walk through the diner door. Emily's mouth parts in disbelief, but no words form. The car engine hums softly, waiting, the driver's hands steady on the wheel. The suited man doesn't speak. The silence stretches heavy, charged with a meaning she hasn't yet grasped, holding her on the edge of something she cannot name. Emily stands frozen in the alley, the envelope trembling in her hands, the black car idling just feet away. Through the half-lowered window, Mr. Anderson holds her gaze. Yesterday he looked like a man shrinking into himself, fragile, almost invisible. Today the truth radiates from him. Wealth, power, authority concealed behind the mask of an old man with shaky hands and a threadbare coat. Her pulse races. She wants to speak, to demand an explanation, but her throat tightens around the words. The suited man gives a slight bow, as though the matter is already decided, and returns to the car. The door opens, the billionaire steps out, his movements slow but deliberate. The air shifts as though the street itself recognizes who he really is. He approaches Emily, his shoes clicking softly against the pavement. Up close, she sees him differently now, not just old, but dignified, with lines carved deep by years of decisions, triumphs, and losses. He studies her, the corner of his mouth lifting in the faintest smile. "You didn't know who I was," he says, his voice steadier than yesterday. "And yet you treated me like a person. Do you know how rare that is?" Emily swallows hard, still clutching the documents. I was just doing my job." "No," he replies gently. "You were doing something people forget too easily. You were kind." The words hang between them, heavier than gold. He explains nothing more, doesn't tell her the scope of his empire, doesn't list his achievements. He doesn't need to. The house deed in her hands, the scholarship papers, the key, all of it speaks for him. Tears prick at the corners of Emily's eyes. She shakes her head, overwhelmed. "I can't accept this. It's too much, Mr. Anderson's gaze softens. "You already did. Yesterday, when you gave me dignity for the price of a cup of coffee." Silence stretches again, but it's different now. Not awkward, not uncertain. It's full of unspoken understanding, as though something profound has passed between them that words could never capture. The car door opens once more, and the driver waits patiently. "Mr. Anderson inclines his head slightly, signaling the conversation is complete. He turns, moving back toward the car, every step deliberate, every moment charged with the weight of finality. Before slipping inside, he looks back once more. "You reminded me of what matters," he says quietly. "Live your life, do good with what's been given to you. That will be my legacy." Then he disappears into the car, the door shutting with a muted thud. The engine hums, the tires roll against the pavement, and the sleek vehicle glides away down the street, leaving nothing but the echo of possibility behind. Emily stands alone, clutching the envelope to her chest, her heart pounding with a mixture of disbelief and awe. Yesterday, she was a waitress covering the cost of an old man's coffee. Today, she is the keeper of a billionaire's final gift, chosen not for ambition, not for status, but for the simplest, rarest thing of all, compassion. And with that, two lives, once strangers, are bound together forever by a single act of kindness that will ripple far beyond this diner, far beyond this day, into a legacy neither could have imagined.